Welcome to Threads of Truth, a podcast where real-life mysteries meet internet speculation. Today, we step into a shadowy photo album, a seemingly ordinary family snapshot, and ask, what's truly happening in the famous Cooper family photo?
Yes, the Cooper photo. It's one of those images that really sticks with you, doesn't it? Once you've seen it, it's kind of hard to forget.
Definitely.
Try to picture it if you haven't seen it. It looks like a classic black and white photograph. It's got that soft, slightly grainy look, maybe from the 50s or 60s, you'd think.
Right, that vintage feel.
Exactly. And you see this family, there's a mother, a father, two little kids all gathered together, maybe around a dining table. It feels like they're in a new home, possibly.
A moment of celebration, perhaps.
Could be. They're smiling, posed, like you do for a family picture. It looks like a moment of contentment, really.
Yeah.
Domestic bliss caught on film.
It's the kind of picture that feels familiar, nostalgic even, like something you'd find in your own grandparents' photo album. You almost feel that sense of a fresh start, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Hope, a new beginning. But then you look closer. As your eyes scan the picture, that whole feeling of calm just evaporates. It curdles, really, turns into something else entirely.
Because there's something else in the photo.
Precisely. Directly behind this seemingly happy, oblivious family, there's this dark figure.
Hanging from the ceiling.
Yes, hanging upside down. It's sort of suspended there in this horrifying, inverted way. It's blurry, kind of indistinct, which almost makes it worse,
It definitely adds to the creepiness.
But it's clear enough that you can see it looks human-like, chillingly so. It seems to be either falling, like caught mid-plummet, or just hanging there, motionless, upside down.
Intrusion.
A total intrusion into what should be a perfectly safe, happy family moment. It just hits you with this visceral, unsettling feeling.
And that's the core of the mystery, isn't it? That visual shock, this dark shape upside down dropping into the frame, or maybe just hanging there. It looks like it's coming from the ceiling, maybe a light fixture.
Right near them.
It's a visual gut punch. It makes you immediately ask, what is that? Are we looking at something paranormal? Like real evidence of a haunting? Or is it just, another incredibly effective, really creepy internet myth, something designed to go viral, maybe even by accident, and just stick in our minds? That's what we want to explore today.
It's that clash, isn't it? The wholesome family image, safety, home, and then this disturbing, totally out of place thing. It violates all your expectations for that kind of scene.
Absolutely.
And that forces you, the viewer, to confront something unknown, maybe uncanny, right there in the middle of the familiar. That's powerful, psychologically speaking.
It taps into those deep fears. Yeah.
Okay.
Home invasion, but supernatural.
Exactly. Fear of security being breached by something you can't see or understand. So, yeah, we'll keep an open mind. But our goal here is really to dissect the legend, look for the facts, and try to understand why it's had such a lasting impact.
Okay, let's really get into it then. Because this photo, for anyone who spent time looking into online mysteries or ghost stories, it's iconic. It really is. It didn't just appear, it exploded onto the scene.
Yeah, it did. You're talking about its first big wave online, probably early to mid 2000s, which is key because that's right when internet culture as we know it was really starting to take off.
Before everything was quite so slick.
Exactly. Before the huge social media platforms dominated everything, this image found its footing on the, let's call it the digital frontier of that time.
At forums and blogs.
Precisely. Those niche paranormal forums, places where people gathered online to discuss UFOs, urban legends, ghost photos, all that stuff. Early blogs, too, often anonymous, dedicated to the unexplained.
Digital campfires.
That's a great way to put it. Digital campfire stories, but suddenly with a global reach. And as the internet grew, it naturally spread to early social media as those platforms started appearing. It was perfectly timed to become one of the first big viral creepy images.
And it wasn't just the picture floating around on its own, was it? There was a story attached, a narrative that really helped it lodge itself in people's minds.
Oh, absolutely. The story was crucial. It became the Cooper family photo because of this backstory, this urban legend that came with it. It gave it context, made it much more chilling.
Made it feel real.
Yeah. The legend was vivid, quite detailed, actually. The story usually went that this family, the Coopers, had just moved into an old house somewhere in Texas.
And the time period.
Often cited as the 1950s. which immediately adds that layer of vintage creepiness, you know? That sort of idyllic post-war era being disrupted. You picture this family, new house, fresh start.
Right. And the story goes, on their very first night there, maybe to mark the occasion, the dad takes a picture.
Mm-hmm. Captures his wife, the two kids gathered around the dining table maybe, smiling, happy. Snapshot of hope.
A memory they'd want to keep.
Exactly. But then the legend continues, when they got the film developed, that's when they saw it.
The figure.
This ghostly kind of transparent figure hanging upside down from the ceiling, right there between the parents, almost like it was falling into the scene. An uninvited guest.
Horrifying.
The narrative really played up the shock, the violation of that happy family moment. It taps right into that fear of something unseen invading your safe space.
And the story didn't end there, did it? The legend included an aftermath.
No, it had a conclusion. The fictional aftermath was pure terror. The story claimed the Coopers were so freaked out by the photo and apparently by other hauntings that followed that they just left, abandoned the house, fled.
Wow. So it completes the horror story arc.
It really does. It gives you the setup, the shocking reveal, and the terrified escape. That whole narrative, even though apparently fabricated, gave the photo immense power. It wasn't just a weird picture anymore. It was this whole terrifying saga.
And it worked. It clearly resonated. This image became like a foundational piece of early internet horror culture.
Absolutely foundational. It was a staple in early creepypasta. Those short, viral horror stories people wrote and shared online. You'd see it constantly on the big message boards back then too, like Above Top Secret or Unexplained Mysteries.
Places people went specifically to discuss weird stuff.
Exactly. Those were the hubs for this kind of content.
Yeah.
And then later, as platforms like Reddit took off, it found a whole new massive audience.
You still see it pop up on Our Paranormal or Creepy all the time.
All the time. And YouTube compilations, forget about it. Most haunted photos, scariest internet mysteries. The Cooper photo is almost always in there. It became visual shorthand for real ghost photo.
Which is fascinating because, as you mentioned, the story was key, but the actual provenance was basically non-existent, right?
That's the crucial part. It was almost always shared as proof, as genuine evidence, but there was never any verifiable source. No one could confirm that Cooper family actually existed. No specific location in Texas was ever pinned down. No original photographer came forward. Nothing.
Just the photo and the story.
Exactly. A complete lack of verifiable data, which ironically probably helped it spread. It created this perfect vacuum for belief and speculation. People wanted the story to be true.
It tapped into something.
Yeah.
And did anyone ever try to trace its digital origins?
Yeah.
Like, where did it first appear online?
People definitely tried. It's part of the photo's own meta legend now. Some online detective work pointed towards a possible first appearance around 2009, maybe on a blog called ghosttheory.com. But even that isn't definitively proven. It was essentially a digital orphan ready to be adopted by this creepy narrative.
So for years, this thing just circulated, fueled by the story, captivating people. But the story isn't true. The paranormal aspect has been debunked.
That's right. As far as the claims of it being a genuine ghost photo go, yes, it's been pretty thoroughly debunked. The mystery is, in a way, solved. But how it was solved and the truth behind it is arguably just as fascinating as the ghost story.
Okay, let's get into that factual history then.
Right. So the first big point. The image is definitely not from the 1950s. That vintage feel is misleading. It's actually understood to be a classic example of a photographic technique.
Which is?
Double exposure.
Ah, okay. So not ghosts, but camera mechanics. Can you break down what double exposure is for anyone not familiar with old film cameras?
Sure. Basically, with film, a double exposure is when you expose the same piece of film to light twice. You capture two different images onto the same single frame.
Intentionally or by accident?
It could be either. Photographers might do it deliberately for artistic effect, creating these layered, surreal images. Or it could happen by mistake if the camera malfunctioned, like if the film didn't advance properly after taking a picture. The next shot gets imprinted right on top of the first one.
So you get two scenes blending together.
Exactly. Two images occupying the same space, often looking transparent or overlaid. It's a trick of light and chemistry, not ectoplasm.
So applying that to the Cooper photo, one exposure is the family at the table, seemingly normal.
Right. And the second exposure, layered onto that, is the falling body figure. That creates the terrifying effect. It immediately reframes it from a paranormal event to a technical artifact, potentially.
Okay, so that's the technical explanation. But how was it definitively debunked? Was there a specific source?
There was. The most significant piece of the debunking puzzle came from a man named Richard Ramsdell. He came forward publicly, online initially, and admitted that he was the one who created the image.
He claimed ownership.
Yes. He didn't just offer it as a theory. He said, I made this. He provided details about how he did it, which finally offered a concrete, non-paranormal explanation.
That's huge. What did he say he did?
Ramsdell explained it in forums and apparently later elaborated in a book. He said the falling body, that creepy figure, was actually a photo of himself.
Seriously?
Yeah. He said he posed, hanging upside down from the ceiling, took a photo of that specific pose, and then superimposed that image onto another photograph.
Okay, wow. And the other photograph?
Yeah.
The family.
This is where it gets even more layered. He claimed the family photo was also him specifically, him as a child. He said he was one of the two little boys sitting at the table.
Whoa, so the whole thing was him.
According to his account, yes. If true, it completely dismantles the Cooper family in Texas's narrative. It wasn't some random family's haunted moment. It was a piece of personal art he created using photos of himself at different ages.
What was his intention then, according to him? Was it meant to be a hoax?
He stated his intent was artistic. He wanted to create something visually striking, maybe unsettling, but not necessarily to start a massive paranormal hoax. The whole Cooper family story, a 1950s Texas haunting, he says, that was all added later by other people online who found the image and ran with it.
They built a legend around his artwork.
Seems that way, which means, to be crystal clear, the family in the photo is not the Coopers. That name, the date, the location, all fiction, added purely to make the story more compelling and believable. It just shows how easily fictional details can become fact online when there's no solid information.
And that lack of solid information was key all along, wasn't it? No records, no one stepping forward.
Exactly. No verifiable proof of the photo's origin, location, or the family's identity ever surfaced. No actual Cooper family was ever found or interviewed. This information vacuum was perfect for the legend to grow before Ramsdell's explanation emerged.
Was his the only explanation, though? Or had skeptics suggested things before?
Absolutely. Long before Ramsdell came forward, photography experts and general skeptics were already questioning it. Even while it was peak viral, they were looking at it critically.
What were they suggesting?
Well, double exposure was definitely a leading theory among skeptics from early on, but they also floated other possibilities based on how old photos can look. Things like damage to the negative, maybe a chemical stain or a film burn during processing.
Or even Photoshop, since it emerged in the 2000s.
That too, especially given the timing. They pointed out the lack of real evidence for it being genuinely old. A true 1950s print would have specific characteristics, right?
Like the paper type, the grain.
Exactly. The paper stock, the grain structure of the film used back then, maybe subtle fading. And importantly, old photos often have markings from the lab on the back, or borders, dates, codes, stuff like that. The Cooper photo seemed to lack any of that verifiable physical evidence.
Which whispered modern creation to anyone looking closely.
Pretty much. The lack of those authenticating details was a big red flag for experts, suggesting it wasn't the mid-century artifact the legend claimed it was. That ambiguity allowed all sorts of theories to fly around until Ramsdell offered his specific account.
Right. So before Ramsdell's explanation really took hold, the internet was just buzzing with theories. People were trying so hard to explain that figure.
Yeah, definitely. And those pre-debunking theories are really revealing about us, about how we try to make sense of scary, unknown things.
So what were the main ones? Obviously ghosts.
Yeah, the straightforward ghost theory was huge. The figure looks ghostly. It's in a house setting. Classic haunted house stuff. People figured it was a spirit connected to the house's history. Maybe someone died there tragically.
A former resident, maybe?
Exactly. The standard ghost tropes. It fit perfectly into that framework.
But then there was the whole upside down aspect, which seemed to push some theories in a darker direction.
It really did. That inversion felt inherently wrong to many people, unnatural. So you got the demonic figure theory. The upside-down posture, combined with the indistinct, shadowy form, made people think of darker symbolism, maybe occult or demonic connections.
Like an evil entity manifesting.
That was the idea for some. It played on deeper fears of malevolence, of something truly evil intruding.
And did these theories get more specific?
Sometimes, yes. You saw these historical tragedy theories emerge. Some were quite specific and, frankly, quite dark. There was one theory that circulated suggesting the figure was the ghost of a Black person who had been lynched, tying it into historical trauma and injustice associated with the location, even though the location was never confirmed.
Wow, that's heavy.
Very. Another common one was that it was the spirit of a previous owner who had died by suicide in the house, maybe by hanging. And the photo captured their spirit replaying that moment. These narratives gave the image a deeply tragic, unsettling weight.
Rooted it in human suffering.
Precisely. But alongside all that paranormal speculation, you always had the skeptics, the initial skeptical views, people saying, hang on, could this just be photography?
Like the double exposure idea we talked about.
Exactly. Or maybe just a smudge on the negative, damage, and artifact of old film. Purely technical explanations based on how cameras and film work, not on ghosts or demons.
And ultimately, those technical explanations, particularly Ramsdell's double exposure account, seem to be the reality.
Yeah.
But not everyone accepts that, right? Even now.
That's the really fascinating part psychologically. Even with Ramsdell's detailed admission explaining how he created it, you still have a significant chunk of the online paranormal community who just refuse to believe him.
The artist is lying theory.
Exactly. It's surprisingly common with debunked phenomena. People argue Ramsdell is just seeking attention, maybe covering up the real paranormal event, and that the photo is genuine evidence of a haunting.
Why? What's their reasoning for disbelieving the creator himself?
Often, they'll latch onto tiny details in the photo. They might scrutinize the shattering on the figure or how it seems to blend into the background and argue, see, that couldn't be faked easily, or that doesn't look like a simple double exposure.
Pixel peeping to find confirmation for what they already believe.
It's very much like motivated reasoning. They're looking for anything, any ambiguity that supports their belief that it's real and unexplained. When a story is that compelling, that emotionally resonant, people can become very attached to it. Facts that contradict it can be really hard to accept.
It happens with lots of famous paranormal photos, doesn't it? The belief persists despite the debunking.
It really does. Once a narrative captures the imagination like the Cooper photo did, it takes on a life of its own. Dislodging it with just facts is incredibly difficult. People want to believe in mysteries and something beyond the ordinary.
And the debates still rage online.
Oh, absolutely. Go onto Reddit forums, paranormal blogs. You'll still find people passionately arguing about the Cooper photo, debating the shadows, Ramsdell's credibility, whether it could still be real. The factual explanation is out there, but the mystery, the feeling of it persists for many.
The conversation itself keeps it alive.
In a way, yes. The ongoing debate becomes part of its enduring legacy.
Okay, so stepping back from the legend and the debunking, why this photo? What made the Cooper family photo lodge itself so deeply in the internet's consciousness? Why does it still feel creepy, even if you know the backstory?
Well, I think there are a few key ingredients. First, it's simplicity. It's just one image, no complex backstory needed initially to feel the impact, just a family, and then that thing. It's direct, it's powerful, it's ambiguous.
Minimalist horror.
Kind of, yeah. And that leads right into the emotional contrast. You've got the warmth and safety of the family scene right next to the sheer horror of the falling figure. That clash is incredibly jarring. It hits that primal fear of your safe space being violated.
The uncanny valley, almost, but in a situation.
Exactly. The normal made terrifyingly abnormal.
Okay.
Then there's the era ambiguity. That black and white, slightly grainy look just feels old and authentic, even if it isn't really from the 50s. It lends it a credibility, makes it seem like a genuine artifact from the past.
Makes the ghost story feel more plausible somehow.
It does, and initially that lack of a clear origin was huge. No confirmed source, no names, no location. It was a mystery box. And the internet, especially back then, loved filling in those blanks with the creepiest possible explanations. The legend rushed in to fill the void.
It was fertile ground.
Absolutely. And finally, you just can't ignore the compelling visual itself. That upside-down figure is just inherently disturbing and memorable. It's not just a vague shape. It's specifically positioned, seemingly in motion. It grabs your eye and chills you in a way few other ghost photos do.
It's uniquely unsettling. All those elements combine. It makes sense why it's stuck. And there's a psychological component too, right? Like how our brains process images.
Definitely. You have pareidolia at play. That's our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns, especially faces or human forms, in random or ambiguous stimuli. So, confronted with that blurry shape, our brain instantly tries to resolve it into something recognizable in this case, a human-like figure, which is inherently more engaging and potentially scary than just a random smudge.
Our brains are wired to see ghosts almost.
In a manner of speaking, yeah, we're pattern seekers. And beyond just seeing the figure, the whole phenomenon serves as a great case study in the psychology of belief. Why do people want to believe in the paranormal?
Good question.
Well, you take this terrifying image, add that compelling backstory, first night in a new home, the intrusion, the fear, and combine it with that initial lack of a simple explanation. It's the perfect recipe for an urban legend. It fulfills a kind of need for mystery, for something beyond the mundane.
It makes you think about what makes any image feel haunted. Is it just the ambiguity? The story?
I think it's a mix. Ambiguity is key, letting your imagination do the scary work. The sense of an unseen presence, something disrupting normalcy, the element of the unknown. The Cooper photo ticks all those boxes. That's why it's still iconic, even knowing it's likely an artwork. The feeling it creates is powerful.
It's like the less defined it is, the more space there is for fear.
Exactly. And the internet's role in all this is fascinating too. It's really a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, first, it was the ultimate spreader of the hoax, or the legend at least. The speed and reach of the early internet allowed this story and image to go global incredibly quickly, solidifying it in popular culture before any real checks could be done.
Made it viral before it could be verified.
Right. But then, paradoxically, the internet also provided the tools for debunking it. The same forums where it spread were also where skeptics dissected it. People like Ramsdale could use online platforms to share their side of the story. Video essays could analyze it. The truth could eventually circulate too, even if it had to fight against the established legend.
So the internet both creates and solves the mystery, in a way.
It can, yeah, though it often takes time. But here's the kicker. Even with the debunking, even with Ramsdale's explanation readily available online,
It still circulates as real.
it absolutely does. You still see it presented unironically as a genuine ghost photo on social media, in listicles, on YouTube. People share it, often completely unaware of the debunking or choosing to ignore it.
Which really highlights how hard it is to kill a good story once it's out there, doesn't it?
It's incredibly difficult. Once a compelling narrative gains momentum, especially one that tacks into primal fears or beliefs, retracting it from the collective consciousness is almost impossible. The lie, or the legend in this case, often remains more sticky, more compelling than the mundane truth for a lot of people.
The myth becomes more powerful than the reality.
In many ways, yes. So, while we can say the Cooper family photo mystery is technically solved, the story of it remains fascinating. The real threads of truth here aren't about ghosts in Texas.
They're about us.
Pretty much. About how our minds work, the power of a good story, how belief functions, and the weird, wild nature of information in the digital age.
It's a mirror, in a way.
A really interesting one. It shows us how much we're drawn to the unknown, and maybe how much we sometimes prefer a scary story to a simple explanation.
So, what do you think? Does knowing the truth behind the photo make it less creepy for you? Or is the story of how it was created and how it fooled so many just as compelling as the paranormal myth it spawned? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Join the conversation on our social media platforms, #CooperFamilyPhoto.
Yeah, ultimately, the Cooper family photo isn't really a ghost story. It's a story about a ghost story. It's become this incredible case study in how legends are born online, how images gain power, and how psychology, technology, and folklore intersect.
It's a piece of internet history as much as anything.
Definitely. And it's a potent reminder that sometimes the most frightening things aren't necessarily supernatural entities, but the narratives we construct, the fears we project, and the power of an image to capture our collective imagination. Even knowing the likely truth, it's still a creepy photo.
It absolutely is. Thank you for joining us for this exploration. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review for Threads of Truth wherever you listen. Your support helps us continue to shed light on these unsolved cases and search for the truth, one thread at a time.